watching CramerSez.
Welcome. My name is Kramer. This is the CramerSez Live. We are coming to you today at noon because a bunch of different shit is happening and wanted to make you aware of it, but also to inform you of what they're saying and doing. And when I say they, I'm talking about the Democrats, the globalists, and so on, and how many Americans currently have their fucking heads in the sand. They think that it's going to get better by the 2024 election. Folks, wake the fuck up. They have no plan of ever letting Trump back in office. Some have said that I'm a black pill. I got a guy here on X who says that I'm a black pill, that I'm saying not to go vote. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying your vote doesn't matter. They proved that in 2020. You honestly believe that the people who rigged the 2020 election, that they're going to miraculously change their tune and allow Trump to become president, that they're not going to rig it again, that they're not going to do anything within their power to ensure that Trump never becomes president? You'd have to be a moron to think so. If you believe in your heart that the 2020 election was rigged, but somehow the 2024 election is going to be free and fair after the shenanigans that they've pulled in just the last year. The number of cases that they put against Trump. 34 charges, folks, based on what? We still don't know what the crime is. Oh, it's a process crime. You're not supposed to know what that is. Really? They have a plan. They're moving forward with their plan. Now, there are some morons on the right that believe in Q. I'm going to say it right now. If you believe in Q, you're holding us back because you believe that Trump is in power. Let's go through this really quickly here. If Trump is in power and has been in power since January of 2021, if he's been in power since the 20th of January, 2021, and has allowed the border to remain open, Trump can't be president. If Trump has been in power along with Q and the military and everybody else, show me in the Constitution where they have the authority to do that. They don't have it. It's not there. You can't suspend the Constitution to save the Constitution. Lincoln proved that. You can't suspend habeas corpus and believe that the system is going to keep going. So tell me, for everybody out there that's waiting for Q or somebody else to come save you, what have they done so far? Where are the Q drops? As we get heavier and heavier and closer to the 2024 election, Q has all but disappeared. Well, he woke us up. You're so awake, you're doing nothing. You think that somebody else is going to come save you. And the vast majority of Americans who witnessed what happened in 2020 have the audacity to turn around and call me a black pill for saying, hey, listen, those motherfuckers who rigged the 2020 election are going to do the exact same thing. Nothing's changed, folks. I don't know why you seem to think that they're going to allow Trump to come in and that me saying that they won't is somehow a black pill. I'm just stating the obvious. I mean, if I went to a poker game and I felt that poker game had cheated me, I would never go back to that poker game assuming that they're not going to cheat me. If I felt that I was cheated, I would not go back to that poker game. Why do we think that the 2024 election is going to be any more free and fair than the 2020 was? Because we're all awake? Because you did your research? How far has that gotten you so far? People keep telling me that, well, Q is here to save us. They're here to save us. And they're working behind the scenes and they open my eyes. They open my eyes to what was going on with the children. Okay, your eyes are open. What the fuck have you done about it? You're awake. What have you done? Nothing. Oh, I make videos and I make posts and you haven't done anything. The only person that I know for sure who's done something is an influencer on TikTok and Instagram called Patriot Mama. She started an organization to go save kids. I know that she did something. What have you done? As you wait for somebody to come save you. Folks, they've been very clear about what their plan is. There is a plan. Q doesn't have one. I know that Q doesn't have one because we're not privy to it. The people that are going to have to execute it aren't privy to it. Well, that's not how it works, Kramer. Yeah, it is. You have to tell everybody on your team your plan so that they know what to work toward. We don't even know who wrote the plan. You have no idea who authored the plan that you're so blindly following. So explain to me, well, we can't do that, Kramer. If you really researched the drops, and if you really, I did. I could not figure out where in the Constitution it said that the president and the military have the right to hold a coup, hold the nation hostage for 4 years to showcase that the other side's so bad. I don't see that in the Constitution. Show me where that's at in the Constitution. Well, it's a continuation of power. You use these phrases like you know what the fuck they are. You don't. If you did, you'd understand that we're fucked. I've been saying the exact same thing for the last 4 years. Have not changed my tune one bit. Been told by the Q-tards that Kramer, you told us one thing I've never said anything other than the 2020 election was rigged. I don't believe in Q. It's all bullshit. I've been saying it from the very beginning. If you thought that I believed like you believe, then that was on you. I've been very clear about where my position is. I don't trust people I don't know. I don't follow people who I don't know. If there's a cult group with Inside MAGA, it's the people who follow Q. Because you're following blindly. You have no idea who the leader is. You think it's Trump, but Trump's never said that. Well, he can't say that. Really? Klaus Schwab has said who he is. The head of the WHO has said who he is. The people that are actively going after your rights on a daily basis, they let everybody on their side know exactly who they are and what the mission is. When they come in and they tell you, in Hawaii, for example, this happened just a few days ago, they come in and they tell you by 2045, these islands will be car-free, we will be carbon neutral, there will be no gas allowed on these islands. You have to fucking trust them. Why? Because they have a plan. They're executing it. And you're sitting back waiting for a ghost to come save you and protect your freedoms and rights. Just like our founding fathers. The only one who can protect your individual freedoms and rights, folks, are you. That's it. You're the only one. Now, the reason I'm on a warpath today, and I think that it's important that we talk about this issue, is that I get attacked all the time. I don't give a shit. You can call me whatever you want. You can say I'm this, or you can say I'm that. But one thing I'm not is wrong. Why? Well, because everything's based on data. It's not my personal opinion. My opinion is based on the data that we have. The data that we've seen, what's happened before, but more importantly, history. What men and women have allowed to happen to each other over time, what they've justified allowing to happen. If you think that our nation is going to get better, that our nation is going to be better off by trusting that the 2024 election is going to be more secure and more transparent than the 2020, you're not prepared for what happens next. I am. I've been listening to what powerful elites and globalists say. When people with money and influence tell you, excuse me, that something is going to happen, you should listen to them. When they say that they don't want you, that you're not needed on the planet anymore, you should take them at their word. So here's what we're going to do. It's not my, I don't want you trusting me because I'm a black pill. That's what I've been told. You're telling people not to vote, Kramer. That's not what I've said at all. Go vote. I'm voting. I've already voted this year, right? I'll vote in the fall if we have elections. But the question here is, folks, isn't if we're going to vote, it's, well, who's counting those votes? Remember how long it took for the 2020 election? Months to find out that Joe won. And anybody who wanted to counter that and go look into it was called an election denier and a threat to national security, a threat to democracy itself. And you think that those people who did that in 2020 are going to be silent, go to the sidelines and keep their mouths shut as Trump takes the presidency, is sworn into office, and then is allowed to go after and use the laws The actual laws, not turning misdemeanors into felonies, but the actual laws of things that these traitors have done over the last 7-8 years, starting with Russia, the Steele dossier, spying on the Trump campaign, all that bullshit. We cannot move forward as a nation until that is answered. And what do you think? Let me ask you this. What do you think the powers that be, what do they think of you? Well, they don't respect you at all. They think you're a moron. And you are, if you allow them to keep doing what they're doing. Folks, the tactics are no different than the playground bully. They make you sit back and think that you're going to be threatened or that you're going to be hurt or you're going to lose something if you don't toe the line. It's no different than what the bully does. Because they're the playground bullies. They're just grown up. That kid that busted your chops in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, guess what? He's a congressman now. He's a senator now. They didn't change. They became our leaders. They became the powerful. They became the bureaucracy so that they can control things, tell you what to do with your life. And what they have planned for you does not benefit you. When rich, powerful people tell you you will own nothing and be happy, you should probably listen to them. When rich and powerful people tell you that, well, we believe that there should only be about 500 million of us on this planet, that us does not include you. It includes them and theirs. How do I know? They've told us that. They've been very clear about it. Their solution to a declining population isn't to tell people, hey, let's go out and let's make it easier and more efficient and more financially sustainable to have as many kids as you want. And we can, nope, their solution is to bring in people from all over the planet illegally that do not have your love for this country. Someone doesn't love this country, they won't fight for this country. They'll fight for whatever cause benefits them. That's what we're seeing happen right now. The people that are saying vote blue no matter who, knowing that Joe has dementia, they don't care. That's the cult, folks. We've been called cult members. MAGA has been called cult members time and time again. We're the cult. Really? What's the largest group of people who did not take the jab? By the way, I call it a jab because it's not a vaccine. Supreme Court, the courts have already said that it's not a vaccine. Doesn't meet the criteria. So that medical experiment that you took, what was the largest group that didn't take it? What was the largest group that said, I don't care if Trump backed it or not, I ain't doing it? Now, what I find interesting is Kamala said, what did she say? She said she wasn't going to take Trump's vaccine. I don't trust is what she said on the campaign trail. But then as soon as Joe took office, those motherfuckers who could not wait to blame Trump for everything were so eager to get that experimental medication into their arms. Couldn't get it in there fast enough. And not just once, but some up to 10 times. That's where we're at, I think. The boosters are up to 10 boosters now. You could have had up to 10 boosters at this point. They believe that masks keep you safe. They believe that 6 feet away, that's cult members, folks. That's what cults do. And then when they say vote blue no matter who, that's cultish. That's what cults do. And what do cults do primarily? Well, they've got to protect themselves and the belief structure and so on. And anybody who doesn't align with that has to be reprogrammed, has to be sent to a camp. China did it. Russia did it. Every authoritarian government that comes in, the first thing they talk about is control of the minds. You've got to have control of the people up here before you can tell them what to do. And MAGA is the group of people they can't program. They want to deprogram. You can't deprogram me. What I believe is to the core of my being. You're going to have to fucking kill me. Putting me in camp will not do you any good. I will kill every motherfucker in my path. You try to do this to the American people, you're asking for a civil war, a revolution. Not today, not tomorrow, yesterday. We're done with this bullshit. We're tired of being told that we're deplorable, that we're disposable, and that we offer nothing, and all we are is a cult. We're a cult you shouldn't mess with. If we are a cult, this is the cult you do not want to mess with. I find it interesting that the vast majority of MAGA is made up of Gen X. We're the generation who wanted to be left alone. We don't ask for anything. We don't do anything. We don't want your shit. We don't want your problems. But you won't leave us alone. There's going to be a price to pay for that. For those of you who don't believe what I'm having to say, I decided today what we're going to do is I'm going to showcase to you that the people who rigged the 2020 election are currently telling you that they want you in re-education camps. Not just one, not just two, but a number of the major voices inside the leftist movement, inside the Democrat Party, inside this Marxist takeover our nation. They're saying time and time again, they want us rounded up and put into re-education camps. Here's the thing, folks. The federal government is already building these camps across the nation. In all 50 states, they're building detention camps for dissidents. Not for illegals. They're America's best hope. No, the camps are for those who dissent. Those who are saying, no, I'm not going to do that. So let's take a look. Over the next 20 minutes or so here, we're going to go through a number of videos that showcase to you exactly, not just a little bit, but exactly what these people are saying, keeping in mind that if you believe they rigged the 2020 election or played a role in it or supported the coup that happened in 2020, if you believe that that's the case, then you have to take them at their word when they say this.
How are we going to really almost deprogram these people who have signed up for the cult of Trump?
This document is called FM 3 through 39.40, Internment and Resettlement Operations. And it's a comprehensive manual issued by our very own Department of the Army.
There are millions of Americans, almost all white, almost all Republican, who somehow need to be deprogrammed.
But here's where it gets interesting. Buried within the dense military jargon and procedural detail is a framework that could, under certain circumstances, be applied domestically. Yes, you heard that right. This manual provides guidance that is adaptable to various operational environments, including potentially right here at home.
Because they've been brainwashed, Joy. I really believe that they have been brainwashed by this misinformation campaign.
So how do you de-radicalize these people?
Once we educate them, we coach them on how to interact and empower the person to start thinking for themselves.
I think a lot of people are going to have to be deprogrammed.
We had a program addressing white supremacists, that we had programs, federal programs, that went towards funding organizations like these that de-radicalized people, and President Trump pulled the plug.
Let's take a closer look at some of the specifics. Chapter after chapter, this document meticulously details how to set up and manage internment and resettlement facilities, how to process and transport detainees, and even how to handle medical and dental care for them. It talks about capturing, screening, and interrogating detainees and outlines the roles and responsibilities of military police units in these operations. Now, imagine these procedures not just in a foreign war zone, but on American soil. The manual doesn't explicitly state that these operations will take place within the United States, but it leaves the door wide open.
What ultimately breaks that power structure in the South is enforcement, right? There has to be consequences.
Over half our country needs to be reprogrammed. Not just 75 million people that voted for Trump, but the conservatives in this country.
Consider the chapter on civil support operations, which highlights the involvement of military police in civil missions, coordinating with civilian authorities. This could easily extend to domestic scenarios where the military might be called in to manage large-scale disruptions or civil unrest. We're also looking at chapters that cover the rehabilitation of detainees and the resettlement of displaced civilians. Think about that. Rehabilitation programs for detainees, resettlement operations for dislocated civilians. These are terms we associate with wartime operations in foreign lands. But here they are in a document that is perfectly applicable to situations within our own borders.
A Bernie Sanders staffer was caught on undercover camera saying that Trump voters should be sent to re-education camps.
What are we going to do with those people that resist the change? Because that's a big deal.
Well, I'll tell you what. In Cuba, what do they do to reactionaries?
They shot him on the beach.
Anyone Biden wins will go through all the Republican voting, and Homeland Security will put the children and we'll put them into re-education.
Amen.
What's even more troubling is the absence of clear boundaries. The document doesn't draw a firm line to exclude domestic application. Instead, it provides a flexible framework that can be adapted to various operational environments. The ambiguity is unsettling. It's like they've crafted a comprehensive plan for internment and resettlement and left it intentionally vague enough to be implemented anywhere, including right here in the U.S.
So part of it is we have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities. Once it's everybody's responsibility and not just the households, then we start making better investments.
This isn't about fear-mongering. This is about being aware and vigilant. As citizens, it's our responsibility to scrutinize these documents and ask the hard questions. Why does our military have a manual for internment and resettlement operations that could be used domestically? And more importantly, under what circumstances would they deploy these procedures on American soil?
I have decided we really need camps for adults. And we need the kind of camps that you all run. I mean, really.
While other networks lie to you about what's happening now, InfoWars tells you the truth about what's happening next. Visit Infowars.com/show and share the link today.
You're watching CramerSez.
There you have it. That's the elite within inside the Democrat Party telling you exactly what they have planned for you. Not me, them. What they can justify in their mind. They believe that they have the authority, the balls on these people to tell us exactly what they're going to do, and the stupidity of those on the right not to listen to them and take them seriously. Everything that they're doing, every move that they're making is to make this dream of theirs come true. Phone lines are open at 877-619-3899. We can take your calls right now if you've got something to say about this. Are you concerned? Are you done? Are you done thinking that the Republican Party is going to come save you? They're no different, people. Because if they really wanted to fix this issue, they would. If they really wanted to solve the problems, they would. They don't. They go along to get along. Are there a few good ones? Yes. But they're few and far between. By the way, the same can be said about the Democrat Party. The Democrats, not everybody in the Democrat Party is a loon. But they're not speaking up either. They love this country just as much. They'll stand up, but that's it. It's talk. Let's take another clip here. You saw in that first clip there that Hillary Clinton said that she wanted the camps that these people were building. This is the second time she said this.
And sadly, so many of those extremists, those MAGA extremists, take their marching orders from Donald Trump, who has no credibility left by any measure. He's only in it for himself. He's now defending himself in civil actions and criminal actions. And when do they break with him? Because at some point, maybe there needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members, but something needs to happen.
And how do you do that? Because you said you have to defeat them by defeating their leader. Their leader is Donald Trump. Even you have said that you expect him to be the Republican nominee. How does this change at all?
At this point, I think, sadly, he will still likely be the nominee, and we have to defeat him. And we have to defeat those who are the election deniers, as we did in 2020 and 2022. And we have to just be smarter about how we are trying to empower the right people inside the Republican Party.
You're watching CramerSez.
Yeah, that's the second or third time she said that. That they've got to build camps to re-educate us. They've got to round us up. You got to round your kids up. Take your kids away from you if you dissent. They'll come through the school systems. They'll come through the health system. That's how it happened in Nazi Germany, folks. They used health as the modus operandi to go after the Jews and the Romanians and the Gypsies and everybody else that they murdered. The 30 million, not just the 6 million we hear about all the time, but the 30 million that they killed. The Russians were no better. And if you don't think it can happen here, then you don't know your history. It's already happened here. During World War II, Democrats in Congress decided to round up American citizens of Asian descent because they were scared. Oh, Instagram has ended my video. Instagram has ended the live. Imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine that. Never stops, folks. It never fucking stops. Yep. Been shut down on Instagram. Happened in real time. This is the America that they're going to give you, folks. You can't speak out. They'll tell you what you can and can't say. You think that the people who rigged the 2020 election are going to stop and say, okay, we'll let Trump have 4 more years. We're going to give him 4 more years, then we're back to work. Wake the fuck up. By the way, this isn't me telling you not to go vote. Some have said that I'm a black pill telling you not to go vote. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that they're going to do the same thing with your vote this time that they did last time. And if you don't think so, you're the moron. That's what they're counting on. They're counting on you not doing your job, you not being vigilant, and you keeping your pie hole shut like you've done for the last 4 years. Well, I've spoken out. No, you haven't. The left has spoken out. I've seen their protests. I've seen their fights with the police. Well, we're not that. You better become that. You're trying to take the high road and expecting them not to do anything. Folks, everything happens on the low road. That's where it all happens at. That's where people decide. That's where the bully gets his mouth bashed in, is on the low road, not the high road. The people taking the high road don't have time for those kind of shenanigans. And where the Democrats, where are they spending their time? Well, down in the gutter. What did Eric Holder say? When they're down, we kick them. That's how they're winning, folks. Now, they'll say that, well, the Supreme Court, and this is what I think is hilarious from yesterday, Supreme Court has allowed Trump now to become a mass murderer. That's the hyperbole that they're using, the scare tactics. The group that is locking up their political prisoners, we've got 1,400 Americans sitting in prison for 4 years without trial. You don't think that's a problem? You think that that's the way America is supposed to be? 4 years in jail for basically trespassing? That's the worst they've got. The building that those people were in, I don't agree with the people going into the building. I'm not saying I'm behind that. What I'm saying is it's their fucking building. It belongs to the American people. It doesn't belong to Joe Biden. It doesn't belong to Donald J. Trump. It belongs to us. We the people. Those buildings, those lands do not belong to the Republican Party. Do not belong to the Democrat Party. Do not belong to independents. Do not belong to the fucking bureaucrats. It's ours. We own it. And if we want to go into our building and complain about how the motherfuckers in that building are running that building, then I think that we have the right to go do that. I think it's funny that they're all up in arms about a few windows being broken. Capitol wasn't burned down. Not like Los Angeles. Not like Portland. Not like Seattle. No police stations were, bum rushed and all the cops had to leave and then the police station set on fire. That didn't happen on January 6th. These insurrectionists, when they were given a lawful order to go home, that it's time to go home, there's a curfew being put in place. The insurrectionist, the unarmed insurrectionist, went home. Who else finds it interesting that the nation with the most guns at hand, I'm within arm reach right now of 3. That nation held an unarmed insurrection? Come on. Even Joe Biden ain't that fucking stupid. He ain't that far gone. He sees that one. But what plans do they have for you? Well, listen closely. This is exactly what they've got planned for you.
Well, we have a saying on this show that conspiracy theories are just 6-month spoiler alerts for what's to come. And there's no shame in raising these questions. So here's one for you. With over 30 million, upwards of 43 million illegal immigrants that have poured across the border during Biden's presidency. And the federal government is building massive facilities that can sleep tens of thousands of individuals all across the country. You probably haven't heard about these large facilities, have you? Well, why are they being built? Who are they for? We might finally have an answer. Listen.
It's not for these illegals, especially let's go off the numbers that they're telling us that there really are. They're saying, 11 million? In reality, I can tell you right now, with talking to all of the agents that I've talked to, private sector, looking at the cameras and all the real data, we're over 30 plus million who've actually entered this country.
Yep.
And so even with that, even though that's enough to replace about 36 states population, why would they need to continue to do that if they're trying to absorb these guys, make them productive members of our society, get them into housing, because we know that there are already housing projects being coordinated with builders, again, with our money. I believe it's to kind of like what Nazis did with the Jews, concentration camps, processing facilities. They're going to need somewhere to process the dissidents.
So it's not for illegal immigrants. Who is it for? Dissidents? We're going to unpack this with former 24-year veteran of the Customs and Border Protection, J.J. Carroll, who did this interview as part of his new documentary, Treason, scouring the country right now. And you just keep bringing unbelievable revelation after unbelievable revelation as part of this story. And I think, again, most Americans have no idea what is going on, and it's being absolutely kept from the American people right now. And JJ joins us once again here on the show. Great to see you. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me, Clayton. And thank you for talking about this documentary, because as I travel the nation, I have I believe I'm an expert on this topic. However, when you talk to people, and I have interviewed multiple people from all different levels of ability to get intelligence gathering data, it's fascinating to me and shocking at the same time when I speak to people that are very compartmentalized, meaning they focus on child sex trafficking. They talk about the gang members. They talk about facilities, and you get deep in that rabbit hole. Really, it's a rabbit hole. You're like, I didn't know it was this deep. I didn't know it was this broad. I didn't know it was this malicious. And you played this clip from someone I interviewed this past weekend. Her name is Christy Hutcherson, and she runs an organization called Women Fighting for America. But her background was federal contracting, and more specifically, abroad, but specifically, she worked on forward operation bases, FOBs, in military war zones, where she would put up these giant soft-sided facilities, water, food, et cetera, et cetera. So we're talking tens of millions, if not billions of dollars, right, that have transferred from her company, which she no longer is a part of, but she has access to all the bid contracts. So I'm interviewing her, and like I said, I have a very good understanding of what the hell's going on in America under this immigration invasion. But when I speak to people that are very dialed in on very specific areas, I'm shocked. And she tells me, and I didn't know this because I don't have access to it. She has access to the federal database where you can go on a website and there are endless bids for contracts from whatever. But she's focusing in on, she says to me, there's bids for detention facilities being built in all 50 states in America. And I said, okay, hold on a second. Say that again. She says, okay, I can go into a database because my company used to bid on all this. And I bid overseas, international contracts. Very, very intelligent woman, very, very connected. And she says, I go in the database, JJ, and there's detention facility bids to build individual detention facilities in every state in the union. And then she goes on to say to me, well, JJ, who do you think they're built for? Are they built for all the illegal aliens or the unaccompanied alien children? Of course not. And she has a point, right?
So
Because
why would, yeah, you would think, right? So that's where I was confused. I would have thought, okay, they're building all of these detention facilities across the United States for a purpose, illegal immigrants. But no, right? Because as your data has suggested, most of these ICE facilities, right? Can you talk about that, are completely empty?
Yes. Well, they are completely empty. I talked to my buddies in Texas and in San Diego, and I talked to my ICE supervisors, and they tell me, JJ, they're empty. So you're talking anywhere from 30 to 40,000 beds across America, mainly on the southern border, right, are empty. Well, why are they empty? Because we have massive catch and release. Let me explain what this looks like. In the old days, right? The old days, Clayton, 3.5 years ago, not 30 years ago, when I got someone that was special interest alien, deported felon, whatever, I didn't release them. I sent them to an ICE holding facility, and they went and they waited there a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever it was, to go in front of the judge, find deported, or found to be guilty of reentering as a felon. Then they spent time in federal prison, and then they would be deported. So we had all this bed space. But now, if I get someone that's a deported felon, I know this is going to be hard for people to believe. I arrest someone that's a deported felon now, I'm releasing them. I'm releasing them on the street. So you go from arresting people 3 years ago, setting up for deportation and prosecution, goes to, we call it camp, a camp space in an ICE facility, and then that individual goes through the court system and then is ultimately deported after he or she serves her time. Not now. Everyone gets arrested by the Border Patrol. They quickly vet them, and then release them. Just release them. We just had 8, I'm going to mispronounce it, Kyrgyzstanians, 8 of them that crossed the border, were vetted and released. Now we find out they were actually ISIS terrorists. ICE had to go find them. All 8 of them, I believe, entered together, but all 8 of them didn't stay together. They went to Los Angeles, Philadelphia, and New York. So what Ms. Hutcherson is saying is, in coordination with what I know, is you have 40,000 beds. Why would you need more? Mayorkas continues to go in front of Congress and demanding, I need more money for ICE beds. And they say to him, sir, you have no one in them. I'll give you an example. San Diego sector has like a 2,000 bed, soft-sided, hard-sided facility. The last I checked was 6 people in there.
People better wake up. People better wake up. I mean,
Clay,
he's sitting before Congress demanding more money from Congress to build more beds. And they've been built, and they're all empty. They're all empty.
Yes.
I mean,
because we don't hold people anymore.
It's a good thing your documentary is called Treason, because this is treason. I mean, this is exactly what this is. What money does he need? And then what are these detention facilities being built for, as she was talking about, in all 50 states? I mean, we're talking millions of beds across the United States. For whom?
Yeah, well, and she says in this interview, they're for dissidents, American dissidents. And she's right, because I know how that sounds, Clayton. I know when I say this out loud, like you and I talked about this before, I have an inner voice, and I'm like, oh God, I got to say this out loud. But it's true. So if I'm telling you that our federal government is building detention facilities across America, and therefore people that dissent, meaning people that don't want vaccines, people that are J6ers, people that are creating militias, and you go, oh, JJ, you're insane. And I push back to you. Let's go back 20 years to present day. Are you telling me this is more insane right now, what I'm talking about, than if I told you prior to 9/11, someone's going to fly planes into a building, they're going to fall down, no one's going to believe it, then we're going to use weapons of mass destruction, we're going to go into the Middle East, we're going to be in a war for over 20 years, we're going to spend $4 trillion, thousands of men and women are going to die, American soldiers, tens of thousands are going to be brutalized in their brain and physically destroyed with limbs and burns. The government's going to create a bioweapon. Our government with China is going to release it onto America and the world. Then they're going to lie to us and not tell us where it went. Then they're going to make us wear masks, stand 6 feet apart. They make this out of whole cloth. Then they're going to admit to it. and then they're going to force us all to get vaccines, and millions of people are dying or being injured by that vaccine. Then I'm going to use another one. I'm going to go in front of Congress. I'm going to tell you that the border's secure as video of millions of people are coming across. I just laid out 3 insane scenarios, and you're telling me that this is more crazy than those 3 that I told you?
I mean, JJ, you're nowhere near as crazy as I am. I could give you a list of 20 right now that we cover on our show.
Yes.
You want to go back to the Oklahoma City bombing? I mean, I could go on and on and on for the level of lies that our government has told us and put forth a narrative, a public narrative, and behind the scenes they're crafting something incredibly nefarious right now. I mean, it doesn't sound crazy to me at all. And I think you have large militias that are coming together across the United States right now who are preparing. I mean, we've been covering this on the show. I mean, we're talking 80, 100,000 Americans who are preparing right now for what's coming. So they're building these large facilities. Can you speak to some of the specifics of these facilities and who's facilitating this? Is this Department of Homeland Security? Is it Department of Defense? Is it NGOs with the help of with Mayorkas at the Department of Homeland Security? How is this coming together? What do these facilities look like?
I think they're going to look like just the facilities that we're seeing where the children are being held in, those FEMA camps. That's what they're building. They're building FEMA camps. The way she explained it to me was like the way she set up, her company would set up forward operation bases in military zones where they would go in, barbed wire fences, soft-sided, those big white tents that come across. We see the videos. We see it in Hollywood movies where you can put 5, 10, 15,000 people in and just jam them into quarters. And
I should point out, to your point, she's not making this up. This was her job, and she's seeing the bids coming through in the contracts. So this is not fantasy.
No, this is not. This might happen. This is happening. Now we come to the crossroads. Do you believe that your federal government has your best interest? It's simple as that. Do you believe our government is malicious and nefarious? Look what they're doing to January 6ers. Look at that. But think of on a massive scale. We don't have to go back far in history. They interned Japanese Americans in camps. So you're telling me this government, the government that's been lying to you for decades, is now all going to be kumbaya and they found God and they're going to do righteous things? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? They locked you in your houses for months on some BS COVID stuff, right? COVID was real, but they locked you in your houses. What happens when we rise up and go, I'm not staying in my houses? Oh, you're not? National Guard, martial law, round them up. So I have a woman that I think is highly intelligent, very, very successful, has made a lot of money in her business, and now is devoting her life to fighting the federal government and exposing the truth. And she's telling me, JG, this is for dissidents. When I talk to experts, and then I fact check that expert, and I talk to other experts, and they validate, I cannot logically listen to someone like that and then dismiss her. No. You don't know what you're talking about. No, she obviously knows what the hell she's talking about, Clayton. Look, the more I go on this journey, called me and Ryan Madden, my business partner on this documentary, called A Journey, I am absolutely shocked at what I learned. I send you stuff, right? As I come back, I send you and I tell you, Clayton, I know this is going to sound crazy. This is what I uncovered. I know it's bizarro world, but it is. I mean, this week I sat and talked to multiple people that have intimate access of child sex trafficking. So grotesque that I go home after these trips and I literally have to figure a way to decompress my brain from what I'm hearing.
What's amazing to me is you've been on the front lines for 24 years on the border. The stuff that you've seen is horrific, and the fact that you need to come home and decompress from what you're now hearing is incredibly disturbing.
Look, Clayton, I come home. Literally, this is how it goes. I spend 3 or 4 days filming, interviewing, going to areas, talking to whistleblowers, and when I'm flying home, I'm exhausted, but I'm so amped up because I'm trying to process what I learned and then trying to sift through and intellectually go through what I've been told and say, okay, is this true? Okay, how do I fact check this? And then dear God, it is true. Okay, how am I going to articulate this to America? And then in my brain, I know that this is just a personal talking point, but I personally think, God, I have to go down this road again, right? I have to go on national TV or huge podcasts like yourself and say the crazy out loud, right? I have to say like I wrote it in my book, Invaded. I had to write crazy stuff, knowing that it was factually true and the data said this will happen down the line. And everything I wrote, everything I've been saying is factually true. I mean, Clayton, go back to, I think I've been talking to you for several months now. Go back to the things that you and I talked about 6 months ago. Everything that I've said has happened.
Right.
Outrageous stuff.
Right.
It's happened. The revelations have happened. Is there a race war in Chicago? Get ready. Yes. Now everybody acknowledges it. Everyone doesn't want to talk about sex trafficking. Now that you and I have talked about it, I see it everywhere. And it's not algorithms on my phone. I'm talking willy-nilly people that I would never expect to talk about are talking about it.
Finally.
Everything that I am saying to you has come factually true. So if I've told you 10 things that have come true or actually data proven truth, why would this be a lie?
Right.
Honestly, why would I come to your show and lie?
And we can see them. Here's the thing. We can see the tangible evidence of this. We can see the contracts.
Yes.
We can see them being built in all 50 states across the United States. And we're going to see what happens here. I think, we can go into speculative territory here, but we are entering a very dangerous election. And what is going to happen with this election in 2024? We've had Colonel McGregor on the show who believes we are heading, not even having an election. So what are these camps going to be for? If they're not for illegal immigrants, what are they being used for? And she says dissidents. I mean, keep it tuned right here. I mean, I really think that this is an eye-opening and terribly scary piece of this. I want our audience has been fantastic in this. You guys can pre-order JJ's documentary.
You're watching CramerSez.
There you go. Those are the plans that the people that rigged the 2020 election, that's what they have for you currently, right now, today. And it gets worse, folks. What did Clayton Morris say there? Clayton Morris in Redacted. If you don't follow this guy and look at his follow the interviews that he's having on a daily basis, he's right up there with Joe Rogan with breaking information, cutting edge interviews about what's really happening in our country. If you're not following him, you're doing yourself a disservice. When we come back, I'm going to talk to you about Senate Bill 3589 and why what Clayton Morris said about the paramilitary or the militias that are being formed around the nation or those militias that are working, what the federal government is trying to do to limit your constitutional rights to do just that.
What is Impact Health Sharing?
Impact Health Sharing isn't insurance.
It's a modern, affordable alternative to traditional health insurance, offering significant cost savings.
Most members save 30 to 50% on healthcare costs. With Impact Health Sharing, you enjoy the freedom to choose any doctor without in-network restrictions.
With an easy, hassle-free enrollment process.
Plus, access telemedicine 24/7 with $0 provider fees.
Call 844-827-2637 to learn how you can save 30, 40, even up to 50% on your healthcare costs.
America's political prisoners need our help.
CramerSez is on a mission to raise $100,000 or more.
Can you help? Join our mission today
at CramerSez.shop.
You're watching CramerSez.
One of the things that Clayton Morris said in that interview there is he mentioned the militias being formed around the nation. And I don't know if you're aware, folks, but the Second Amendment gives us the authority to have militias. It's a constitutional right. But this ass hat Ed Markey out of Maryland doesn't believe that the Constitution gives you that authority because he's trying to strip you of your right to form a militia. It's a Senate Bill 3589. 3589 is very clear, folks. It limits your rights to exercise your constitutional rights. I keep telling you, the people who want you gone are going to do everything within their power to make sure that you listen to them. They're going to pass laws that are unconstitutional, but still legal. Well, Kramer, that can't be right. If it's unconstitutional, it's legal until it's deemed unconstitutional. That's why all of these cases against the 2020 election and election interference and the censoring of Americans, the Supreme Court and the courts keep saying, well, you don't have standing. Well, if we as the American people don't have standing, who the fuck does? If I can't go complain about the fact that I'm being censored on these platforms, if I can't do it personally, if I can't file that and my state can't file that for me, who's going to do it for me? I want to remind you that everything that Hitler did, folks, and when people say, well, when you bring up the Nazis and Hitler, you've automatically lost. They are our greatest example of what happens when fascism is designed as something else, when it looks like something else. Fascism is what the Democrat Party has designed their socialist agenda to be. Taking over everything. The government has complete control of everything, which is the antithesis of what our founding fathers wanted. That's why they they didn't give us the rights. We had those rights. They spelled them out. The right to defend yourself from another is a human right. And you can use whatever weapons they got. And Joe tells us he's got F-15s and nuclear weapons. So I'm saying I got the same right to have the same weaponry that the guy who's trying to take my rights away has. Don't you? But nope, you're going to be silent. So many out there believe Q is going to come save them, believe that Trump is going to be the solution in 2024. I keep saying it. If Trump is elected and ascends into office and serves his entire 4 years without being assassinated or jailed or any of the other things that they're promising to do, because that's what they're saying. They're saying that Biden, now because what the Supreme Court said yesterday, that Biden has the right to send out SEAL Team 6 and kill Trump. That's what they're saying. Because that's how they would use that capability if they had it. If that's what the law really was, and that's what the Supreme Court was saying, then what would stop them? They've already told you they're going to lock you up. They're already building the fucking camps. When are you going to start believing them? Now, Markey has put forward Senate Bill 3589. Let me go through this. The name of the bill is Preventing Private Military Activity Act of 2024. It's the Preventing Private Paramilitary Activity Act of 2024. And for those of you who want to follow along at home, let me find this real quick on here. This is the link. You can search for it, but that's the link. I got the link up there on the screen. That link right there will get you to exactly what I'm reading. And this isn't an article. It's not an opinion piece. This is from congress.gov. It's the 118th Congress. It is Senate Bill 3589. They spell out what ammunition is, what armed forces are, what dangerous weapons are, explosive or incendiary devices, firearms, large capacity ammunition feeding device. They talk about all the rights that you have, and they're going to say these rights, if they're used this way, are illegal. Let me tell you, let's read through these. The ammunition, the term ammunition has the meaning given in the term in section 921A. Armed forces, the term armed forces has the meaning given in section 101 of Title 10. Dangerous weapon, the term dangerous weapon has the meaning given the term in section 930G. They go through and they spell this out. Here's what's interesting, folks. This is what they want to make unauthorized. Your constitutional right. They want to make unauthorized. Unauthorized private military activity. What's a militia? It's private. Has nothing to do with the government. In fact, it's the antithesis of the government. It's to tell the government, if you step out of line, this is our right to remove you. They're trying to make that illegal. Not for you and I. We know what they're doing is unconstitutional. It's for the kids today that are being programmed on social media to keep their fucking mouths shut if they want to keep an account. Those kids are being conditioned to accept this kind of bullshit and not fight back because, well, they might lose everything. That's not even debatable of what's going on. But let's talk about what they're saying here. Unauthorized private military activity. What does that mean? Well, it shall be unlawful to knowingly, in a circumstance described in subsection B, while acting as part or on behalf of a private military, paramilitary organization, and armed with a firearm, explosive or incendiary device, or other dangerous weapon, to publicly patrol, drill, or engage in techniques capable of causing bodily injury or death. So you can't walk down the street with your gun. And you can't walk down the street with a bunch of buddies with their guns. You can't have a militia. You can't exercise your constitutional right in groups. That's what they're saying, folks. They're telling you that you can't peacefully assemble. Armed to the teeth, you can't do that. They want to make that illegal. Interfere with, interrupt, or attempt to interfere with or interrupt government operations or a government proceeding. You see, what's interesting is they make these very vague. So everything suddenly becomes a government proceeding or a government operation. Like what the police were doing, arresting people for videotaping, saying that they're obstructing their investigation. Me videotaping you is not an obstruction in any way, shape, or form. But that's what they do. Because it's human nature. I keep telling you about human nature. Interfere with or intimidate another person in that person's exercise of any right under the Constitution of the United States. So they're going to limit your rights, but you can't limit anybody else's. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. That's what this bill says. Again, this is Senate Bill 3589 rather, sorry. Assume the functions of a law enforcement officer, peace officer, or public official, whether or not acting under color of law, and thereby assert authority or purport to assert authority over another person without the consent of that person. That's already illegal. But they want to make sure that you know that as a paramilitary member or a member of a militia, that you can't do that. Well, unless the militia is telling the government to go fuck themselves, and then none of this bullshit matters. Because anything that's unconstitutional, anything that is repugnant to the Constitution is illegal and unconstitutional. That's what this measure is. They know it. They don't care. This is why you must stand. This is why you must make your voice heard. Everything that Hitler did was legal by German law. The rounding up of the Jews, legal. The murder of the Jews and the Gypsies and the Romanians, the 30 million that they killed, all legal. They passed laws to make it legal. They gave themselves the authority to do what they're doing. And they can say, well, you're breaking the law by trying to step in front of us. By stopping what we're legally doing, you're the problem. They turn it on you. They become the victim. That's what they always do, folks. The bullies never change their tactics. They push. And the moment you push back, they play the victim. Oh, I was just joking. I was just playing. It wasn't serious. I wasn't serious about any of that. I was just joking. It was just joking. That's what they do. That's what they always do. That's why I don't give a shit. Because as soon as they get that smile on their face, I punch them in the mouth. Because I've had it. I'm done. I don't know about you, but I'm done. I'm not putting up with this bullshit anymore. I'm very vocal everywhere I go. Whether it be at the Walmart, because they don't have somebody to help you there that can speak English, or bad customer service, or running into a politician in the middle of the street and asking him point blank and not letting him get away. Had a politician that ran for me, Todd Rokita in Indianapolis. He's the attorney general. Will not enforce the law that Act Blue and the DCCC are breaking in the state of Indiana. Oh, that's an FEC problem. You got to go to they're breaking Indiana law. Todd Rokita ran. Diego Morales ran. He's the Secretary of State. These are the people that control these areas. They're supposed to listen to us and go, you know what? That's right. They are breaking the law. Let's go see. Let's find out what we can do. Nope. They run from American citizens. They have no interest in listening to any of us. We're morons. We have no idea what the fuck we're talking about. We can pay all the bills. We can go to work every day and make sure that their salary gets paid. But other than that, we serve no other purpose. Bill continues. Listen to this. The circumstances described in this subsection are that the conduct described in Section A involves traveling across a state line or a national border, or the use of channels, facilities, or instrumentalities of interstate or foreign commerce. So now they're telling you can't cross state lines. You can't go from Illinois into Kenosha carrying a gun and go protest. This is the Kyle Rittenhouse rule. They're trying to make all of it. Folks, they cannot make your rights illegal. They can't legislate your rights away. The only way that happens is if you let them through your silence, where you don't speak up. You don't show up. That's the number one thing I keep hearing about. I keep being told I'm a grifter, right? I'd love to be. I'd love to make sure that next month's rent payment is going to be taken care of. Folks, I'm so deep into my savings, it's not funny. I've blown through $500,000 in the last 2 years trying to stay afloat. That was my rainy day fund. Gone. Depleted. I don't sell wares. I don't sell swag. I tell you the truth on a daily basis. I don't ask you for money. I don't say, hey, support me so that I can come tell you the exact same thing tomorrow. I do it for free. I didn't want my name muddied up with money. I didn't want my reputation muddied up with t-shirts and hats and all kinds of other bullshit. They want people thinking that the only reason I was saying this is to sell shit. Do you know anybody like that? There's plenty of networks that have got millions of followers that are all paying $5, $10 a month to listen to this person talk on a daily basis. That's no different than the mainstream media, folks. I'm sorry. At this point in our history, it's time that you start listening to the canaries in the coal mine that aren't making a dime. Those that are willing to lose it all. Go to jail. Be the Steve Bannons. Be the Peter Navarros. Be the 1,400 that are sitting in prison right now for protesting what happened on January 6th. And those of us that are fighting this fight, folks, we see what's happening. We're reading what they're doing. We're trying to tell you. The bully on the playground is doing this. Listen to what we're saying. They're telling you exactly what they want to do to you. They're telling you exactly what's going to happen to you. When rich, powerful people tell you they don't want you around anymore, when the playground bully says he doesn't want you around anymore, you should fucking pay attention.
Kramer Says.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Impact Health Sharing isn't insurance. It's affordable health care.
Impact Health Sharing offers comprehensive medical services, covering preventive care, maternity, accidents, illnesses, and injuries.
Plus, choose any doctor or healthcare provider you trust with no in-network restrictions.
Enjoy the freedom and coverage you need
for your entire family.
To learn more about how you can save 30, 40, even up to 50% on your healthcare costs, call 844-827-2637.
That's 844-827-2637.
You're watching CramerSez.
For the last 3 years, I've been saying the same thing over and over and over again. My message has not changed, folks. Your freedom depends on you. Your willingness to defend your freedom with your life. That's how we got the Constitution. That's the only way you can keep the Constitution. That piece of paper sitting in the archives is nothing more than a piece of paper unless you're willing to defend it with your life. That means taking into the streets. When Markey here, from Massachusetts, comes in and tells you that they're going to delegalize the right to exercise your rights, you should listen to them. They want to take away the right of you to be able to form a militia, a constitutional right, Preventing Private Military Activity Act of 2024. Paramilitary. Paramilitary is just another fancy word for militia. You have the right to form it. It's a constitutional right. They can't take it away. And if you allow them to take it away, and they come and they on your doorstep, and there's nobody to answer, it was your fault. Because I'm being very loud and very vocal about it. I'm fighting this. I'm going to my state legislature on a regular basis and saying, when are you motherfuckers going to start pushing back against D.C.? When are you going to do your job in the state legislature and protect our rights? Constitution is clear. If the federal government doesn't have them, then that right, that power goes back to the states and to we the people. Far too many of our state legislatures are owned by D.C. That's why these kind of bills can be pushed through and they don't say anything. I haven't heard anybody in the state legislature of Indiana or any other state push back against this bill and say, well, you can't enforce that in Indiana. Good luck, but we're not going to allow it to do it. Let's go back into to talk about the unauthorized private paramilitary activity that you're not allowed to do under this bill from Markey. This is a Senate bill, 3589. Let's see here. Involves let's see. Let me go back here. The circumstances described in this subsection are that the conduct described in subsection A involves. So they're saying you can't do any of this stuff if it does this. If it meets this criteria, it's illegal now. Okay? Involves a firearm, explosive, or incendiary device or dangerous weapon that has traveled in interstate or foreign commerce. So if you take your gun like Kyle Rittenhouse did across state lines, you could be in trouble with the federal government. If you exercise your constitutional right to leave your home out of Illinois and go to Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, any other state in the nation, and you want to get together with a group of friends, and you want to march, and you want to pretend that you're a soldier, that's now illegal if this bill passes. If what you're doing obstructs, delays, or affects interstate or foreign commerce. So if you block a road, your militia blocks a road, that's illegal. Not if you glue yourself to the road, you cement yourself to the road. Not if you're wanting to protect the environment. That's fine. You can do that all day long. But if you want to exercise your Second Amendment rights and your First Amendment rights in tandem at the same time someplace, they want to make that illegal. If what you're doing occurs wholly within any Commonwealth territory or possession of the United States. So if you're doing this, if you're exercising your rights in the United States, it's now illegal. That's what this bill proposes. Here are the exceptions. Subsection A shall not apply to the armed forces of the United States, the National Guard, the naval militia, any regularly organized state militia. By the way, the state militia is the National Guard. The state, other than Florida, doesn't have a state militia. I don't even think Texas has one. I could be wrong about that. But only Florida has an actual militia. And down there they call it, DeSantis's army. And that he's a Hitler-like. No, he's exercising his constitutional rights. The state has the authority to do it, but so do I as a citizen. It doesn't have to be recognized by the state. That's not what the Constitution says. State doesn't authorize. In fact, it says, keep your fucking paws off this law. Off this amendment right here, keep your fucking paws off. That's what shall not be infringed means. That's a fancy British, or the fancy, beginning of our nation way of saying, don't fucking mess with this one. It's too important. Yet we still have 20,000 laws on the books on that one amendment. A group of individuals who parade in public as part of a bona fide veterans organization with no intent to engage in the activities prohibited by subsection A. Students in an educational institution authorized by the federal government or the state to teach military science as a prescribed part of the course of instruction when under the supervision of a military instructor, or members of an organization that is authorized under federal or state law to provide paramilitary, law enforcement, or security services training or to engage in paramilitary activity. So what they're saying here, folks, is that the government is the only one who has the authority to exercise your right. They don't have that right. State governments and the federal government don't have rights. They have powers. That's all they have. We have rights. They have no rights. They can't take our rights through legislation unless we let them. And then you have to go show this is unconstitutional, motherfuckers ain't doing it. Well, here's they're trying to take the most basic protection that you have, the protection to protect yourself against an overzealous federal government. What did the left say the moment that the SCOTUS ruling came down yesterday? What were they calling for? SEAL Team 6 to be used against Trump, to assassinate Trump. In fact, Harry Sisson is going to get a visit from the Secret Service for his quote, what he decided to say about what should be done, what could be done, calling for the assassination of Trump. That's happening right now today. Folks, this is not, I'm telling you, it's an escalation of justification. 8 years ago, Hillary Clinton called MAGA, called Republicans deplorables. Beyond saving. Throw them away. They're no good to us. She's gone from that to saying that we should be locked up. Collins, out of New York, who's running against Stefanik, she says, as part of her rhetoric that Republicans, MAGA, should be rounded up, locked up, and re-educated. At the same exact time, AOC and what's the other one? Rachel Maddow, that dude over there on MSNBC. They're saying that it's just the other way around, that if Trump is allowed in power, that they will be rounded up and put it. Folks, the only people talking about rounding people up and putting them into re-education camps are the left, are the Democrats, the ones who've already done it before. They already did it to American citizens back in World War II. They have no problem. They will build detention camps like that. Don't you think it's interesting how fast those COVID camps came into being? All those camps that we were going to have, to house people, and none of them were used? That was a test run to see how fast it could be put together. It just took weeks. Weeks. They know that they can bring in ships offshore on the West Coast, on the East Coast, and down in the Gulf. They know that they can bring these ships into shore and they can house people there. Move them offshore 3 or 4 or 5 miles. Nobody's going to be jumping off and swimming back to shore. How do I know that this is the way that they think? Because that's what I did for a living, folks. I'm a strategist. And when there's an agenda in place, you look at all the tools that you have capable. You have all the tools that you have available to you, and you say, now we utilize these things to make our goal realizable. You use what you have. And what do they have? Well, right now they have power. That's all they've got. And they've got the media. They have the law behind them. Some idiot on Twitter posted, imagine, funny how the first, what is, I got to get this right. Let me get this right. Make sure I say this right. Sorry about this. I don't generally do this, but I think it's it's how blatantly stupid they are. And let me just go here. Sorry about this. It's their comments that they think are snarky and funny and are cutting, and they're going to get you, and they don't take the logic all the way through. I can't remember. I can't find it here. Basically what they're saying is that they can't believe that this is the first time in history that a president has to be given immunity. It's the first time in history that a president has been indicted on bogus charges. We still don't know what the crime is out of New York. Is that why Bragg suddenly this morning decided that he's not going to press charges, or he's not going to sentence? He's good with allowing Trump's sentencing on July 11th to be postponed until after the election? Folks, what I'm thinking is going to happen is it's what has to happen to protect their necks. It's what has to happen. They know what they did. They know the crimes they've committed. They know the treason they're part of. We've got 51 former and current intelligence officials, men and women who are still employed by the federal government, who violated the Hatch Act, to come out and say that Hunter Biden's laptop was fake. It was Russian disinformation. Now, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. That's the kind of guy I am. I got a big heart. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they thought, based on what they've been told, they thought that that laptop was potentially Russian disinformation. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Here's the problem. Joe Biden and Hunter Biden both knew that that was a lie. They went with the lie to protect their asses. That's me being generous to the 51 liars that wrote that letter and signed it. I'm being generous to them. Folks, we're in dire straits here in this nation. I tell you on a daily basis, as much as I can, the time that I have allotted to myself in doing this kind of stuff is to open up your fucking eyes. No one's coming to save us. Q is not in control. The military is not in control. Trump is in trouble. Steve Bannon is in jail. Peter Navarro is in jail. The dude who made a joke in 2016 about the 2016 election, he made a meme. They called that election interference and gave him 20 years. He used the handle Ricky Vaughn on Twitter back in the day. You've got 1,400 plus Americans currently locked up for saying that the 2020 election was rigged. 1,400 still locked up for saying that the 20... That's not why they're locked up. They're locked up because they're insurrectionists and they charged... They were there because the 2020 election was rigged. They're still in jail. And you honestly think that those people who have American citizens locked up against their will, the people that are locking up their political opponents on trumped up crimes, you turn a misdemeanor into 34 felonies? Get the fuck out of here.
Why pay more for your health care? Impact Health Sharing is a not-for-profit organization, meaning more savings for you. Most members save 30 to 50% on their healthcare costs compared to traditional insurance. Enjoy affordable healthcare without the high costs. Call 844-827-2637 to learn more about how you can save 30, 40, even up to 50% on your healthcare costs. Impact Health Sharing isn't insurance. It's affordable healthcare. Call now, 844-827-2637.
You're watching CramerSez.
I want to play one last piece before we go here. I want you to pay attention to this. Listen closely.
American people are now wide awake, hate all this, but without any of our institutions of power, it's kind of like, look, more corruption. Anybody going to do anything about it? Anybody? No? No one's doing anything about it? We just let it slide? Okay, we're letting it slide. But you should do something about it. They're guilty, they're corrupt, and we're just shouting into the wind. Nothing changes because it's all super corrupt.
All super corrupt. All of it. And the institutions that we're supposed to be able to rely on to both protect our rights and our sovereignty as a nation have been overtaken by people who wish this country ill will. Folks, it will not get better. It will not change unless you get involved. No one's coming to save us. Just like no one was coming to save our founding fathers. They had to put their name on a line and determine that their life was worth more, or their freedom was worth more than their lives. Every man who signed that document, all of them put their lives on the line. That was a death warrant. That was a death sentence. If the king had caught them, they would hang. And you're afraid of losing a social media account or being ostracized in your community. Now, for those of you who are standing up, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to those that are standing back saying nothing will ever happen. You're right, it won't. Unless you stand along with us. We're tired of being out here by ourselves and screaming into the wind on a daily basis. You're live with CramerSez. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Kramer, it's Marie from Tennessee. How are you, bro?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Marie?
I'm great. I've been a watcher of yours since the beginning of COVID when I found you, and I'm so glad I found you. Thank you for being a wise word for the world. We know you overseas.
Well, you know, it's funny. I think that Steve Bannon said it the other day. They're locking up those of us who speak out, and somebody's got to step into the breach. Somebody has to fill that void, whether it be me or you or somebody else. We have to start raising our voice. What are you doing in Tennessee? Are you being loud and proud and telling them you're not going to take it?
Very. I can't put any stickers on my car because I drive a Porsche, but I almost died for that Porsche in the Army, so it's not like I'm one of those elitists, because I'm not. Actually, I call them parasites because they can't live without sucking everything out of the regular Joe citizen. But I worked overseas. I worked in an embassy. I was the only one who refused. I was one of two who who refused. I was told quit or be fired. I had to resign. I'm not going to give a plug to the nonprofit that I worked with because I've put it in your chat many times. But they were phenomenal, and they're the ones who stopped the mandate. But I had to quit my job. Everything ended for me. Thank God I married a man who is capable and competent, and I'm also 100% VA rated. So I do have income, but it was devastating to me. Absolutely devastating that our government told me I had to take something or be done with my career that I just started 14 months before as a federal employee.
Yep.
I was a high school dropout, GED, had a kid at 17. I was never supposed to make it. I was 50 when I got that job. And you're damn right I was spreading the word. I'm still spreading the word. I will never stop spreading the word. If we can't open our eyes and see that this is killing people and children, then you deserve to go get your booster.
Exactly. Boost yourself away. I'm with you.
I pray.
Marie, what's your thoughts on this Senate Bill 3589, where they're attempting to outlaw Americans' citizens' rights to form militias? What do you think about that?
Good luck with that. Behind every blade of grass, right?
Right.
Behind every blade of grass. And I have quite a few blades of grass. And it's absolutely ridiculous because we have the right to stop a government who is treasonous is what comes to mind. It's a tyrannical government that they're telling us we can't say what we want to say. We can't tell people that, I'm sorry, you're not what you think you are. That's hurtful in the state of Michigan with Governor Whitmer. That you could be jailed for that. That's absolutely asinine.
Yep.
And
I think. Well, then let me ask you this. So, based on what you know and based on your service, what would you expect? What would you expect would happen, or what do you expect to happen in the next 4 to 5 months? I'm going to ask you a series of questions here real quick and just give me, is Joe Biden going to be the nominee for the Democrat Party come November?
No.
Okay.
No, they're going to replace him.
I think they have to, right? Now, they may push it through. But do you believe that the 2020 election was rigged?
Yeah, absolutely.
Was anything done to rectify that since 2020 to make sure that it couldn't happen again?
No, because we have too many people who are insider threats working within our government.
So if nobody fixed the problem that we believe happened in 2020, what's the likelihood that that's going to be rectified in 2024? Should we be able to count on the 2024 elections?
We should be able to count on them. Absolutely.
Do you?
Because it's our right. But no.
I don't either.
Absolutely not. I never will again.
No.
Unfortunately.
No.
We can't have paper ballots. It's got to be election day, not election month. It's got to be election in person with an ID to prove that you are a United States citizen voting for your right as a citizen for our country at the local level all the way to the top. And people get familiar with your local representatives.
That's
you
right.
Must, because that's where it is, right there at the Department of the Elections in whatever state that you are living in. Those are the people who control it.
Maria,
we've seen Georgia, we've seen Arizona, we've seen Michigan. We've seen it happening, people.
Yep. What's your neighbors and friends in Tennessee? What are they saying about this? Are they seeing the light, or is it still wearing rose-colored glasses?
It's half and half. But you go to the big cities, Knoxville, Nashville, Memphis, and they're all walking around with blinders on. But when you get into the rural area, which doesn't count for the Electoral College for some reason, because there's not enough people, and the
Electoral College doesn't matter at all in the event that they're cheating. When they're rigging the elections, it has no impact whatsoever. You cannot tell me that the American people want 4 more years of what we're seeing. Well, in fact, James Carville was just on with, I think, MSNBC or CNN, where it was Jake Tapper, and he was going on, 72% of the American people want something different. Joe ain't it. So the Democrats should give them something different. That's the way that they think about it. Bread and circus, right? The people are upset. Give them bread and circus. Don't do the right thing. Give them bread and circus.
Yep. That's exactly right.
So what do you think? Right. Let me ask you, I'm going to ask you one last question here. What's your opinion on what's going to happen this fall? What do you think will happen with the election? Do you think that Trump will be allowed to be president in this nation?
they're going to do everything they can to stop him from being president because he knows too much. He hobnobbed with the rich elite who did the things that we know of that happened in Epstein and Bohemian Grove and all those different places that I've known about for years, but nobody paid attention because I'm just a conspiracy theorist and I had to keep my mouth shut because I had to have my stripes on my arm and I got to shut up. But I think Trump is not going to be allowed to be elected. There's going to be states who are told that they can remove him. Are the ballots printed with his name on it already? There's so many factors, as you well know, Kramer. There's so many factors, and I don't think they're going to allow him to because he's going to have wrath because of how he was treated and how his citizens were treated. Yep, especially the J-Fixers.
I couldn't agree more. I think that we've got we've got a tough road to hoe. Thanks for calling, Maria. We're going to move on to this next one, and the reason I'm moving on is because I want to show you what's going to happen. They don't have much available, folks. There's only a couple of tools that they have left up their sleeves. This is one of them.
And so a desperate Joe Biden is lashing out at anything to try to keep his party behind him. But, you know, it's not just a war with Donald Trump that's good for him. At some point, Biden's going to realize that any kind of war is good for him. And the world is a tinderbox right now. That's Russia, that's Iran, that's a hungry China. And we hope no president would ever say, hey, let's go to war because it helps me politically. But a lot of politicians find that war is convenient.
Right. So, Alex, you know, the president last night did this big White House address going after the Supreme Court when they're really just saying you can't use lawfare against your top political opponent, gutting Jack Smith's special counsel case against the president. But Joe Biden has a history of actually, you know, going after the Supreme Court as well. Listen to this.
Supreme Court blocked me from relieving student debt, but they didn't stop me. So far, I relieved student debt for nearly 5 million Americans. A significant number are black borrowers. So you can chase your dreams, start a family, buy your first home, start a business, and so much more. And guess what? It grows the economy. It strengthens the economy. I'm going to keep it going. Promise made is a promise kept.
He's happy to defy the law in the Supreme Court when it fits his political motivation and narrative.
Yeah, to save the Supreme Court from politics, he's willing to drag the Supreme Court into the political mud. Look, Joe Biden has made the world a much more dangerous place with his weak performance in this debate. Weak here at home politically because he's desperate to save his skin. He's made the world a more dangerous place because now his weakness is unstable. When I think voters now, when they see Joe Biden at a teleprompter, they're not going to see a strong man giving a speech. They're going to see a very weak man with crutches.
He had...
Preventive care and mental health are essential. Impact Health Sharing offers annual wellness visits and mental health support. Take care of your body and mind with affordable healthcare solutions from Impact Health Sharing. Experience comprehensive care for your overall well-being, mind, body, and soul. Call 844-827-2637 now to learn more about how you can save 30, 40, even up to 50% on your healthcare costs. Impact Health Sharing isn't insurance. It's affordable healthcare. Call now.
You're watching CramerSez.
I've been telling you for the last 4 years, you've got to get involved. As Maria said there, you know, from Tennessee, folks, unless you play a role in your freedom, you won't have any. We've seen what TikTok has done. We've seen what Facebook has done. We've seen what the proxies of the current government, of the administration, the bureaucracy, we've seen what they've allowed to have happen with our free speech. They say that they have the right to silence us if they disagree, if it hurts the community. But that's subjective. Me making a joke is not meant to hurt anybody's feelings. It's meant to make people laugh. But if you take offense to it, well, that's on you. And what they're saying is that anyone can take any offense, and that's enough to disrupt the community. That's not how life works, folks. It's not how it works. In particular, in this nation, I have the right to be as mean and as rude and crude as I want to be. That's what the First Amendment is all about. And you, as an American citizen, have to have tough enough skin, and that's the problem. Not enough people have tough enough skin. There's a video circulating right now of a gay man he's very serious, letting you know that he was just bullied. He was just bullied by a guy in a store who said, "Don't get too close to me. I'm not gay." And he's all, you see, there's clicks, there's likes, and there's monetization of all this bullshit. You can monetize that all you want. If I went to social media doing what I do, but for the left, I'd be a millionaire. If I did what I'm doing for the left, they would let me be a millionaire. I could monetize I can't monetize. You can't monetize the truth. And who wants to? We're talking about getting a Midwest meetup in August. And do me a favor. If you'd like to do a Midwest meetup, go to the comments section of this video. If you're watching on Twitter in particular, say yes, you'd like to do a Midwest meetup. We're talking about someplace in Indiana. We've got a couple of locations that we're thinking about. We've got a couple of farmers and wealthy benefactors who have come forward and said, yes, you can use my space, you can use my land. What would you like to have happen? I see it as a show of force. Markey is not going to tell me that I can't get my friends together and train in the backyard. They're not going to do it. They don't have the authority. If you think you do, bring your buddies over and try and stop us. Get the law enforcement officers that are on your side, those that'll limit my rights. Have them come over and talk to us. We'll see if we can work this situation out. If you don't stand up for your rights, folks, if you don't stand up, you might as well take a knee. If you don't stand up for your rights, you don't have rights, you have permissions. If you're afraid to stand up, you don't have any rights. Well, I might lose this or that. Yeah, you might. Maria said earlier that, she lost her job and so on. Folks, I've said this a million times. I used to make $700,000 a year. I've made $1,000 this year so far. I've given up my business, shuttered it. We're not doing any business right now. We haven't for the last 2 years. Why? Well, because this fight is more important than me making money. I have reserves. I have savings. But I had to sell my big home, the thing that I worked my entire adult life to have and own. I had to sell that so I could monetize what I'm doing right now. That's why I don't ask anybody for any money. I want you to take me at my word. I'm not trying to sell you something other than your own freedom, your own liberties, and make you understand. Be an evangelist for the Constitution. Make you understand that these rights are yours, but you must defend them. Not Matt Gaetz, not Jim Jordan, not Marjorie Taylor Greene, not Joe Biden, not Donald Trump. You have to stand. You have to stand in the breach, and you have to defend those rights. They're yours. That's why they're called individual rights. And if you think that somebody else is going to do that for you, just look around. If they were going to do it, folks, it would have already been done. With that being said, I'm out of here. Thanks very much for joining. We'll see you again tomorrow as soon as we can. Bye-bye.
Preventive care and mental health are essential. Impact Health Sharing offers annual wellness visits and mental health support. Take care of your body and mind with affordable healthcare solutions from Impact Health Sharing. Experience comprehensive care for your overall well-being, mind, body, and soul. Call 844-827-2637 now to learn more about how you can save 30, 40, even up to 50% on your healthcare costs. Impact Health Sharing isn't insurance. It's affordable healthcare. Call now. Preventive care and mental health are essential. Impact Health Sharing offers annual wellness visits and mental health support. Take care of your body and mind with affordable healthcare solutions from Impact Health Sharing. Experience comprehensive care for your overall well-being, mind, body, and soul. Call 844-827-2637 now to learn more about how you can save 30, 40, even up to 50% on your healthcare costs. Impact Health Sharing isn't insurance. It's affordable healthcare. Call now.
America's political prisoners need our help.
CramerSez is on a mission to raise $100,000 or more.
Can you help? Join our mission today
at CramerSez.shop.